We got some sad news. Black Panther has been cancelled. And before you are like, what? That game with Captain America and Black Panther? No, that one is still coming out. This is Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra. This has been delayed to early 2026. It's the game from the Uncharted creator Amy Hennig. So that is still coming, even though we've still not seen gameplay. This is all in cutscenes, and I don't expect a lot of gameplay. But that's a different story. No, I'm talking about a game that EA was developing with the studio Cliffhanger Games that is also sadly no more. So this according to a report from IGN. The publisher has been shut down. Yeah, they're laying off some other staff as well. Like, EA is really going to focus on fewer things moving forward, and it's kind of sad, but we will talk about that in a moment. So Cliffhanger Games was formed in 2021 and was led by Kevin Stevens, potentially family of Luke Stevens. We don't know. Potentially. Who was a boss of Warner Monoliths during the development of Shadow of Mordor and middle of Shadow of War. So yeah, we of course kind of know the story there. And that's kind of the sad part about this. We now have the Black Panther game cancelled, studio closed, and Monolith Productions, of course, that worked on Wonder Woman, also no more. So all the developers who worked on Shadow of War, they are without a job and have not released anything since that brilliant game. Like Shadow of War, I loved it. So, really, really sad. Let's go over a bit more what happened and also kind of the EA focus now and Marvel games in general. Because they announced this studio, as you can see here, in July 2023. Based in Seattle, of course, expensive. And that's what we've been kind of seeing, sadly, as well. That, yeah, it's getting just more and more expensive to have these huge single-player games in development for a really long time at these locations where you just have to pay way more for developers compared to places in Europe and especially places in Asia, of course. So, yeah, this was like 2 years, or yeah, 2 years ago. 2 years after their announcement, they already got closed down, which is really sad. But they have been already working on the Black Panther game for 4 years. And we got some like leaked concept art and it looks insane. Can we like zoom in a bit? I just think a Black Panther, I don't think it was going to be open world. It was going to be like a single player, maybe with open zones, kind of maybe God of War style. But like this world, you just want to explore it, right? We got a glimpse of it with the Marvel's Avengers expansion, and it was already really, really cool to be in that world. But having like a fully dedicated game around it, I think would have been amazing. So this was part of a survey, and yeah, obviously concept art. But yeah, it gives us an idea of what it could have looked like. So yeah, I think it's kind of sad that this is no more. Although we do also have from Jason Schreier on Bloomberg why EA cancelled the new Black Panther video game, and we got some extra like information regarding that. The plan, according to the people familiar with the game's development, was to feature various playable heroes from the comic book universe, such as T'Challa, Killmonger, and Shuri, all competing for the mantle of Black Panther, which would grant superhuman strength. The player would take control of one of these heroes, while the others would become rivals with whom the player could cultivate relationships. And this is also where the Nemesis system comes in. Like, that's of course the sad part about all of this as well. We love the Nemesis system. It's such a cool way to make a single player game more interesting, because in multiplayer games you have a lot of these moments that are created because you have a lot of players like doing things that maybe the developers did not think of, or create like very like interesting moments, while in single player games a lot of those things are already decided for you. You're just experiencing them more like a movie. But with the Nemesis system, there were moments where it was like, what the heck? I had a completely different experience than someone else playing the game, because I fought this orc and he was like, I killed him with like a burning weapon or whatever. He was on fire, and then the next time I encountered him, he had like burning like scars and stuff like that. So there were a lot of like, and they of course remembered you, But that would be completely different from the way you would encounter maybe that same orc in a different way. Although, I say same orc, obviously they were all like generated and stuff. So there was just a lot of like variety possible. So it's really sad that we don't see that system anymore. But it also seems that that is maybe what is kind of the issue with these games. It was an ambitious system, and early prototypes, builds of the game were designed to demonstrate to developers and EA executive how it might function, so that people familiar with the state of development. But after passing the latest EA gate in March, the team's next big milestone was a vertical slice, or a chunk of the game built to show the level of graphical fidelity that it could aim to hit. Only, it was like hard to have that procedurally generated narrative like showcased to executives. The team had been moving slowly due to the ideation period and also struggles of simultaneously building a studio. So the team had been moving slowly due to the ideation period, and also has been struggling with simultaneously building the game and the studio. And that is what we heard with Monolith Productions as well. A lot of people left after Shadow of War. They were working on a new IP that got cancelled. So then those people were like, we're out. We don't like Warner Bros. Anymore. We go to EA. So then they had to rebuild Monolith because a lot of the leadership has left, while also making a new game. And yeah, that was the same with Cliffhanger Games. They were also a new team working on a brand new AAA game while being a small studio. So basically, in the end, EA wasn't happy with the progress. Again, 4 years of development and they were still in pre-production. Likely also because, that Nemesis system is very ambitious. So EA has now said what they will focus on next, and it's kind of depressing. Looking ahead over the next couple of years, we're focusing on what we believe will have the biggest impact. Battlefield, The Sims, Skate, and Apex Legends. So EA divided themselves into EA Sports and EA Entertainment. And yeah, the sports will of course continue as well. And EA Entertainment has the other games that are not sports. But yeah, basically all multiplayer games. And we will also continue to invest in blockbuster storytelling with Iron Man and the third installment of the Jedi series. Very excited for that. But yeah, they also have like Mass Effect, of course, still in development. But as you can see, they are really focused on these titles. And if those single player games are hitting some sort of issues or something like that, they're like, is this still going to make sense for us? Should we still continue? No. While with a Battlefield, the ceiling is way higher. If you sell a lot of copies and then make sure those people play all the seasons, you sell them the battle passes, the skins, you can get way more out of each player versus someone buying Black Panther and then moving on. And you of course also have to pay Marvel a lot. And that was the shocking information that we had in the Insomniac leak. So here, Marvel royalties, several tiers depending on the number of sales. If sales are above 7 million units, Disney gets 26% of the net digital sales, including DLCs, 18% of the physical sales, and finally 50% of bundled games. So if you put Spider-Man on the bundle for a PlayStation, Marvel gets a lot of that, because that's of course a huge, a big promotion for your console. But 26% of the net digital sales of every copy sold for Spider-Man. That's a lot of money that goes to Marvel for them, obviously giving you feedback on what you should do with Spider-Man. But yeah, you're basically paying to be able to use those characters. And I do think EA at one point might be looking at, okay, we have this Cliffhanger Studios, this new team in Seattle. How many copies do we need to sell to break even on this if Disney takes a significant cut? Also, what we learned was that there's a licensing agreement with Marvel and Insomniac, at least according to that leak, where basically if any of the X-Men games, so after Spider-Man they're gonna do X-Men, and yeah, Wolverine seems to go into like an X-Men series. But if any of those games does not sell at least 6 million units between PS5 and PC in the first year, they can either terminate the agreement. Sony then has to pay 9 million to Marvel if they terminate it. That's no money. And Marvel, they don't have to pay anything. But Insomniac can then still sell the game. But yeah, that shows you like the amount that they want to sell before. If it sells less than 6 million, many games, if they sell 6 million, that's insane. That's really, really good. I mean, we hear Expedition 33, of course, like they're at 3.3 million. They're like very happy about that. Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, super happy with the... I mean, they sold quite a lot as well, but I think they're still below the 6 million. So those games were pretty popular. And yeah, for those Marvel games to be a success, they have to sell 6 million. I think like with Marvel Blade from Xbox, I don't think that's going to sell 6 million. It's probably going to be a really good game. But that's what we see with Indiana Jones as well. I think that sold that had like 4 million players or something. So yeah, that makes the economics of the situation, I think, very, very hard. So that is why I think that also plays a role. While of course with Mass Effect and all the games that EA wants to focus on, Battlefield, Skate, they own that. So they get all the money. They don't have to share it with anyone. Still though, EA has a deal with Marvel to release 3 games. And one of them is the Iron Man game from EA Motive. So that's the Dead Space team, the Star Wars Squadrons team. They are doing an Iron Man game that will likely see the light of day. And then they, after that, do 2 other Marvel games. So yeah, they're still going to continue. But like I said, I would not be surprised if the Iron Man game is not as successful as EA hopes. They will probably terminate the deal. Or maybe Marvel will terminate the deal. And then we will not see these games. Like, I really think that EA, sadly, is just not interested in making the single-player games. We saw that with Dragon Age as well. Obviously, there were many issues with that game. But it was not like a really bad game or anything. But yeah, that did not sell well. They laid off most of the team there. And now BioWare is just very small and only focused on Mass Effect. If Mass Effect is not as big as they want, it's the end of BioWare. Like, I really think that they will... I mean, Star Wars Jedi... It's the 3rd game. After that, I don't think they will continue with Star Wars single-player games. We will see, though. But, yeah, that's kind of the situation. Overall, I think it's sad that the Black Panther game got cancelled. But maybe that was too ambitious for a brand new studio to take on such a big project. But I think overall, the overall story that EA is investing less in single-player games is, yeah, sad for the industry as a whole. Because they did release some awesome single-player games. But... that's sadly the reality of things. Of course, let me know what you think in the comments. Subscribe for more, and I will speak to you soon. Goodbye.